Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome to the Goal Line Hockey Podcast, episode 10. We have survived 10 episodes into the Goal Line Hockey Podcast. Episode number 10. This is the last of 2020. Yes, we have survived 2020. Believe it or not. The only question is, will we survive 2021? I'm going to be optimistic. I think we will. And despite how bad 2020 is, I don't know how 2021 could get any worse. So, best of luck into 2021. Hopefully, you've had a good 2020. I've had a decent 2020 considering the circumstance. Hopefully, the same for you guys out there in the hockey world. As we have a lot of news, as we are starting to get ready for training camp. It is less than a week away for some teams. We're going to be taking a look at some of the latest news up in Chicago. Some of the guys that will not be in attendance for their training camp. We're going to start getting some clarity and more information like this. Captain Clutch, Jonathan Toews up in Chicago, will not be starting training camp for the 2021 NHL season with the Blackhawks this year, as he is undergoing some testing right now, as he has had some fatigue issues as well as some aches in his muscles and stuff throughout the offseason during his training. It seems like there is some underlying issues with Jonathan Toews. He will not be on the roster for the Blackhawks to start the 2021 NHL season. Does that mean he will come into the Blackhawks at some point next year? Possibly. But as of right now, Jonathan Toews is not going to be with the Blackhawks to start next season. Some other bad news for the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, maybe it's some good news because we know the latest on Kirby Dock. The captain of Team Canada, not named Jonathan Toews, Kirby Dock, will be out for the next 5 to 6 months. He has undergone surgery for his right wrist, which he had an injury during their game last week. So best wishes to Kirby Dock and Jonathan Toews as they continue to heal. But for the Chicago Blackhawks, this just seems to be 2020 for the Blackhawks in a nutshell. And unfortunately for the Blackhawks, will likely continue into 2021. Also, you got some news out of Winnipeg, north of the border, as Jack Roslovic has requested a trade out of Winnipeg. We're going to be taking a look at some potential trades for the Winnipeg Jets. We're going to be taking a look at some of that, and maybe does this force their hand in a potential Patrick Laine trade? We're going to be looking at all that now. All right, so we're going to start things off with the World Juniors. We're going to take a look at the World Juniors so far. We're going to look at the top point producers, the top scoring leaders in the World Junior Championships right now. Leading the way at number 1 is Trevor Zegras. All those people that said he is not the number 1 prospect, this and that. He's leading the World Juniors in points right now. In the first 3 games, he has 10 points, 5 goals, 5 assists. The Anaheim Ducks 2020 first-round pick is looking like an absolute beast. It's going to be exciting to see what Trevor Zegras does once he eventually gets up to Anaheim. At number 2, you have Dylan Cousins with 9 points, 4 goals, and 5 assists for Team Canada. Quinton Byfield, the second overall pick here in the 2020 NHL Draft. He has 7 points. Philip Tomasino, the Canada player, with 6 points, as well as rounding out the top 5 is Florian Elias. That's the name sounds familiar. Yes, that is a relative of the late Patrick Elias. He has 6 points in 3 games for Germany this season. And then rounding out the top 10, you have Peyton Krebs, Connor McMichael, Tim Stutzla, Matthew Boldy, Cam York, Dawson Mercer, Alex Newhook, and Cole Perfetti. So, those are just some of the names to keep an eye on in the World Junior Championships. Like I mentioned, Trevor Zegras leads the way for the Americans. Now, looking at the team stats through the first couple games, it's unbelievable. Goals for Team Canada is killing it with 29 goals already. The United States has 21, and then there's a huge drop-off where Russia has only 12. So that is the top 3 in that category. And then looking at some of the most recent games we've seen, Slovakia beat Switzerland the other day. Finland beat Germany. Sweden knocked out the Czech Republic, a 7-1 victory. Russia beat the USA 5-3. Canada giving no mercy to the Germans, a 16-2 victory over Tim Stutzla and Germany. The United States knocked out Austria 11-0. Finland beat Switzerland 4-1. Canada beat Slovakia in a close game 3-1. The Czech Republic beat Russia in a kind of a shocking game, shutting out the Russians 2-0. And the United States beat the Czech Republic by a touchdown 7-0. So those are some of the games so far in the World Juniors. We have a couple of big games coming up here over the next couple of days. We have Russia-Sweden, December 30th. Finland-Slovakia on that date as well. And then to cap off the new year, going into New Year's Eve, we have the Czech Republic and Austria, Canada and Finland, as well as Sweden and the United States to cap off 2020 up in Red Deer, Alberta. So pretty exciting in the IIHF as we get ready for we're in the preliminary round. Some good news in that regard. So now we're heading back to Chicago to take a look at some of the news on Kirby Dock as well as Jonathan Toews. So losing those two players is a big blow for the Chicago Blackhawks. Those are two top 6 players in your organization that are now no longer on your roster. And looking at the Blackhawks lineup, without those players, that is a huge loss for the Chicago Blackhawks. Looking at their top 6, this is your top 6. You have DeBrincat, Toews, Kubalik, Pia Suter, Dylan Strome, and Patrick Kane. Now that we know the latest about Jonathan Toews, you now have DeBrincat likely centering that top line. Oh my goodness. Pia Suter or Jan Mark jumping into the top 6. Dominic Kubalik, Patrick Kane, Dylan Strome. Oh man. So this is going to be an interesting lineup for Chicago next year without Kirby Dock and without Nylander and without Jonathan Toews. This Blackhawks team is going to be in for a heck of a 2021, and oh man, this is going to be a tough year for the Blackhawks. Also, Jonathan Toews will also be out, like I mentioned. That is a tough blow as well for the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, moving on to some more negative news. Jack Roslovic up in Winnipeg has asked for a trade out of Winnipeg. The former 2015 first-round pick, selected 25th overall, the Columbus, Ohio native. Now, there is something to that. That's why I put that in here. He had 67 points in his 180 games in the NHL. So far in his NHL career, 29 points last season with the Winnipeg Jets in 71 games. Now, if you look at the Winnipeg Jets lineup, we may be in store for a trade here before the end of training camp up in Winnipeg. Now, obviously, we know the whole situation with Patrick Laine. Could the Winnipeg Jets potentially look to make a trade where they trade both Jack Roslovic and Patrick Laine in a package deal, possibly to the Columbus Blue Jackets? Would that make sense? I think that's an interesting thought because you've got a player in Jack Roslovic who is a pretty solid depth player, a pretty solid bottom 6 player. He can play minutes. He can, do what you need him to do down low. He's able to get in front of the net. He scores goals. He had 29 points last season. Pretty successful year. You have the final season of Patrick Laine's contract. And then you also have Jack Roslovic, who is a restricted free agent right now with no contract. So, then it brings up the question, who would be willing to take on those two players? Potentially both Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic. The Columbus Blue Jackets could work. They have $9 million in cap space. They could take on the final year of Patrick Laine's $6.5 million, as well as whatever Jack Roslovic could make. And they could be taking home a Columbus native and Jack Roslovic. He would fit nicely in that bottom 6, as well as adding the scoring touch and the prowess up front in Patrick Laine. Could that deal work? Now, the issue is John Tortorella. I don't know if he would like a guy like Patrick Laine in his organization, but that's something that you would have to at least look at from the outset. Now, you also have the consideration we've seen over the past week. I've seen some recent rumors that we could see a Patrick Laine for Dougie Hamilton trade straight up for the Carolina Hurricanes. A lot of people were saying this is a win for the Carolina Hurricanes. Other people were saying it's a win for the Jets. I don't know. What do you guys think of either Dougie Hamilton and a Patrick Laine trade? Do you think that's a good trade for one or the other? Let me know down below. All right. And some other news. Heading up to Edmonton. We got a lot of news from Canada this week. The Edmonton Oilers sign their former 5th round draft pick, Ethan Bear, 23 years old, to a 2-year, $4 million contract. $2 million per season for Ethan Bear. It's a nice contract. Ethan Bear is one of those guys that I think a lot of you Oilers fans really like. I think this is a good signing for both sides. It's not expensive. It's not overly lucrative. And it's more of a prove-it contract for Ethan Bear. Now, last season, he put up 20 points in 70 games with the Edmonton Oilers. Almost as much as Jack Roslovic, who is a forward. Not too bad for Ethan Bear. Now, I think there's a lot of excitement around Ethan Bear because, Regina, Saskatchewan native, not too far away from Edmonton, a former 5th-round pick. He's only 23 years old. There's a lot of excitement around Ethan Bear, what he could do in the NHL. I think a lot of people are excited for what the potential for Ethan Bear is in his NHL career. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with Ethan Bear, but I have to admit, he has done pretty well, and a lot of you have been saying his Corsi numbers and his plus-minus have been pretty solid. We may be starting to see the growth of him as a player there in Edmonton. Heading out to the West Coast as the Los Angeles Kings signed forward Andreas Athanasiou to a 1-year, $1.25 million contract. The Woodbridge, Ontario native, 26 years old, believe it or not. A former 4th-round pick of the Detroit Red Wings back in 2012 with Kenny Holland. Last season was an interesting year for Andreas Athanasiou. 24 points in 46 games with the Detroit Red Wings. He was traded at the trade deadline to the Edmonton Oilers, where he put up 2 points in 9 games with the Oilers. His career stats, he has 156 points in his over 300 games in the NHL. Athanasiou will be getting another opportunity with the Los Angeles Kings now. And you look at the Los Angeles Kings group, he's going to get a chance to play with the Los Angeles Kings. I think that's the most exciting thing here for Athanasiou. You look at that top 6. I've had a lot of grief about that top 6. Iafallo, Kopitar, and Dustin Brown is your first line. Adrian Kempe, Gabriel Velarde, and Jeff Carter is your second line. Now, they have Athanasiou listed on the 3rd line here, but I very easily could see him jumping a guy like Jeff Carter or Dustin Brown or Alex Iafallo by the end of the season. It adds a lot of speed to that lineup, which the Los Angeles Kings desperately need. And you look at the bottom 6, a lot of different names in the organization. If we are going off of Daily Faceoff, Andreas Athanasiou, Blake Lazois, Samuel Fagemo, Jarrett Anderson Dolan, Liash Anderson, a former New York Rangers 1st-round pick, as well as Austin Wagner. So definitely a different bottom 6 there. And you look at some of the different guys on the blue line. You have Tobias Bjornfot making the lineup, Matt Waugh, Mikey Anderson, Sean Walker. It's going to be a different blue line as well for the Los Angeles Kings next season. And hopefully we see the emergence of Cal Peterson. Speaking of Cal Peterson, he released his new mask for next season with that reverse retro jersey he will be wearing. Very, very clean mask for Cal Peterson, and not nearly the same amount of polarity that we saw from Braden Holtby and his mask in Vancouver. So pretty cool there for Cal Peterson. A very nice looking mask. Now we're going to take a look at the channel. I'm going to talk about the channel for a couple minutes, and then we're going to answer your guys' YouTube comment section. So guys, we're going to take a look at 2021 for the YouTube channel. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm looking to do. I'm starting to work on the Patreon. I think we're going to start doing more exclusive content on the Patreon. I'm going to start doing live streams here on the YouTube channel just to see what kind of feedback I get. And if it does well, we could start doing that on the Patreon as well, doing a live stream, talking to you guys live time during the NHL season. We're going to take a look at the season, answer your guys' questions from the Patreon. So we plan on doing just that. I would like to do some collaborations. I'm going to start talking to a couple of people. So if any of you out there are interested in doing collaborations, let me know in the comment section down below, or hit me up on the Instagram at goalline_hockey if you are interested in a collaboration, maybe getting something done. I'm going to start working the phones a little bit and talking to people and seeing what we could do, because we're trying to hit 1K. And once we get to 1K, we're going to try and hit 10K. Once we get to 10K, we're going to try and hit 100K. We're not going to stop moving here at Goal Line Hockey. It's going to be almost 2 years in February that this channel has absolutely taken off. I mean, last year at this time, I had about 90 to 100 subscribers at this time last year. We are over 700 right now. Almost at 800. So we've gained almost 700 subscribers in 1 year. The first year we had 100 subscribers. The second year we had about 700 come on board. We're looking to make that grow potentially a lot more here in 2021. And I'd like to do that with you guys. So if you're interested in that, we look to do that next year. I'm very excited for next year. I'm going to really be pushing the Instagram a lot more, trying to get my word out there. Twitter, trying to get a little more active on Twitter as well. So if you guys are interested in checking that content out, again, quick plug, at goalline_hockey for both Twitter and Instagram. All right, so with that out of the way, guys, your favorite part of the podcast, we're going to answer some of your guys' questions from the YouTube comment section. So it's Loco314, a recent subscriber, and I love the name, by the way. So basically, this is the Mike Hoffman signing a professional tryout with the St. Louis Blues. It's Loco314 says, if everything goes well, I hope we can keep Hoffman beyond this one season. Hoffman and a healthy Vladimir Tarasenko, hopefully we get that this season or next, would strike fear into opponents' hearts. Hashtag Let's Go Blues. So thank you for the comment. It's Loco314. Yeah, if the Blues get back Vladimir Tarasenko, it's definitely going to help this team. And I think the Blues are in a situation where this is a make-or-break year for Doug Armstrong and the Blues. Are they legit? Are they going to get back to that contender status? Or has that window officially closed for the St. Louis Blues? We're going to find that out this season. A lot of people are going to continue the verdict off of last season that this is just a one-off season, but when it becomes 2 seasons in a row here for St. Louis, the expectation is to win a Stanley Cup. And if they're going in the downward direction, you've just lost your captain, Alex Pietrangelo. Is this the beginning of the end for the Blues? Now, also, I'd like to mention congratulations to the newest captain of the St. Louis Blues, taking over from Alex Pietrangelo, is Ryan O'Reilly, baby. He is the newest captain of the St. Louis Blues. Is water wet? Is Ryan O'Reilly the captain of the St. Louis Blues? It's basically the same question. Yes. And it's very easy to tell. It was written on the ceiling as soon as Pietrangelo left that Pietrangelo could be the next captain of the or Ryan O'Reilly could be the next captain of the St. Louis Blues. Congratulations to Ryan O'Reilly, and congratulations to the St. Louis Blues on your newest captain. Now we also have the Woo Woo Kid 007 looking at Mike Hoffman and the situation. He said, no trade necessary. Steen and Tarasenko will go on the LTIR the day before the season starts for the Blues to max their long-term injury reserve money, and Hoffman will get paid $3.5 to $4 million on a 1-year deal. They have an agreement in principle, thus why he signed the PTO. That's a good point. So once we see the training camp start, or the beginning of the NHL season, Tarasenko's money as well as Alexander Steen's money will come off the books, and the St. Louis Blues will have more cap space, and they will indeed be able to sign Mike Hoffman. Now, I think Steen's money alone at $5.5, I think, will be more than enough to get Mike Hoffman done. Tarasenko's money comes off the books for the beginning of the season, and hopefully he comes back at some point next season. We don't have to worry about that. Or they pull a Kucherov, where he's out for the entire regular season, comes back in the playoffs. There is no cap space in the regular season or during the postseason. So if he comes back in the postseason and they acquire assets from that $9.5 million they have saved during the year, the St. Louis Blues could absolutely do that. So thank you for the comment, the Woo Woo Kid 007. Now this is on my video talking about Demko. Needs to become the next starter for the Canucks next season. And Cody Evans says, I personally think it will be Holtby to start, devolving into Demko becoming the starter. But I think Holtby is going to have a turnaround season with the Canucks, mainly because of a fresh start and coaching. That's the big question. The coaching staff in Vancouver. Is the coaching staff good in Vancouver? Because we saw what Mitch Korn was able to do with Braden Holtby during his time with the Washington Capitals. Became a really solid starter with the Caps. If the goaltending coaches are good in Vancouver, I don't think it will be much of an issue for Braden Holtby. And he's going to be a mentor for the young Thatcher Demko. So if he does well, Demko's likely going to do well also. They don't want to push the agenda on Demko, making him the starter right out of the gate. You know, we've seen what Ilya Samsonov kind of is in the situation with Washington now that Holtby and Lundqvist are out of the equation for the Capitals. So this is a good spot for Demko to start to get his feet wet in the NHL and become an NHL starter in the next 2 to 3 years once Braden Holtby eventually leaves. But thank you for the comment, Cody Evans. NHL Reverse Retro Jersey Unboxing. We have a comment from Jeffrey Dubeck. Nice jersey, man. I got a Florida Panthers Reverse Retro Jersey. That's awesome. The Reverse Retro Jersey for Florida is really solid. I like the striping. It's very different from a lot of the jerseys around the league. Thank you for the comment, Jeffrey Dubeck. Ottawa Senators prospects to watch in the 2021 World Juniors. Jim King says, Stützle looks like a good bet to be in Ottawa this season. He has signed with the Sens and been released by his German team, and his play at the Worlds has been outstanding. Fast, physical, and smart. Absolutely agree. He's been one of the top point producers in the World Junior Championship so far. Led Team Germany for the first couple games. So very exciting to see Tim Stützle, the number 3 overall pick here in the 2020 NHL Draft. A lot of excitement around Stützle going into the 2021 NHL season. Duquette71 says, Tim Stützle is legit. Glad the deal is done and can't wait to see him in a Sens jersey. Yeah, I think that's going to be very exciting. I think he's going to be one of those guys that we have to keep an eye on for sure. I think there's a lot of excitement around him. Stephen Lima on my video talking about Trevor Zegras being the top prospect in the NHL. And we have Stephen Lima saying, do you think Zegras plays in Anaheim this season? That's a good question. Because right now we're starting to see some players sign their entry-level deals with their respective NHL teams during the World Junior Championships. And we could see that happen here with Trevor Zegras and the Anaheim Ducks. Now, we just saw Tim Stützle sign his ELC with the Ottawa Senators. Dawson Mercer signed his entry-level deal with the New Jersey Devils. Let's take a look at some of the other guys we've seen. Yeah, Dawson Mercer. Who else do we have signed? I think that's it, actually. Seth Jarvis signed his entry-level deal. Ridley Gregg is a very good player. I think that was a good pickup by the Ottawa Senators. I think he could be like the next Marchand or Lucic type player. Those guys are all playing in the World Juniors. So it's not a surprise that we're seeing them sign entry-level deals. Do not be surprised if Trevor Zegras signs that deal as well and heads to Anaheim. He's leading the league. He's leading the World Juniors in points. At 10 points in the first 3 games, 5 goals, 5 assists. Nice even number. He has looked very solid for Team USA. I would not be surprised if Anaheim put him in the roster. But if you look at the Ducks roster, there's already a lot of guys in the system, specifically down the middle, which is where Zegras would play. You have Henrique, Raquel, Getzlaf, Danton Heinen, Sam Steele, Troy Terry, Derek Grant, that can all play center. Now, their centers right now are Henrique, Getzlaf, Steele, and Grant. So he could replace Grant or Steele, but now you have Steele playing less minutes. And Grant now, do you want him playing in the bottom 6? So these are things that the Ducks have to consider. I think they're going to wait till next year. Once Ryan Getzlaf leaves the Anaheim Ducks, he's in the final year of his contract. Once Getzlaf leaves, they will bring in Trevor Zegras, and he will come to the Anaheim Ducks. So I appreciate the comment. I love to see Zegras in Anaheim this season. I think it's a possibility, but because of the amount of players the Ducks already have on their roster, don't be surprised if they wait till 2022 or the next season, 2021-2022 NHL season, to see Trevor Zegras. Thank you for the comment, Stephen Lima. So, guys, that is it for the Goal Line Hockey Podcast episode 10. I don't know if you could tell, but my eyes are super droopy. I'm very tired, but I am out here for you guys producing content. It's another podcast, the final podcast here of 2020. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching. That's the end of the Goal Line Hockey Podcast episode 10, and have a great day.